Hey friends, Elizabeth here from Plant-Based Bride, back again with another video. And today I'm setting up my bullet journal for October with a loosely dark academia inspired theme. I recently did a reading vlog where I read 4 dark academia books, and reading all that dark academia, really getting into the spooky season autumnal vibe of it all, really inspired me for my bullet journal this month. So I'm going for a very scrapbooky feel, utilizing my big box of supplies that I usually use for my reading journal. I really enjoyed the process of layering for this video, just playing around with the layout, trying different things, and finding something that felt sort of harmoniously chaotic. Hopefully that makes sense. I decided to write out one of my favorite quotes from Ordinary Monsters, which was my favorite book from my Dark Academia reading vlog. I'll link that video if you missed it and want to see me reading all the books and sharing my thoughts, both spoiler and not. But I just can't stop thinking about Ordinary Monsters. I liked it so much, and I'm really struggling to find the patience to wait for the sequel. Moving over to the cover page, I wanted this one to be a little bit simpler and a little bit darker, just for a bit of contrast and for it to stand out a little bit more. Slowly adding one element at a time, layering things, trying to have areas of light and dark and different textures. And most of this setup is only tangentially October or Halloween related, but I did want to add something a little more overt on the cover page. So I used this bat stamp from an art journal of set to add that spookiness. Flipping over to the next spread, which is going to be my monthly calendar leading into my weeklies. I wanted to try something a little different and just have fun with the layout this time around. So I decided to make each weekly slightly larger than the last by 2 spaces. So I had this really nice overlapping layered effect. I wanted each layer to be a different color and texture, so I started with my tea-stained paper for that first layer, which is going to have my monthly calendar on the front, and then the first weekly on the other side. And I'm using my little corner rounding cutter thing, which I've actually had for years and never taken out of the packaging until this day. And it was very convenient to be able to quickly punch out these perfectly rounded corners instead of having to cut them out myself. I don't know why I just left this in a drawer for so long, never using it, but I'm glad that now I've discovered how fantastic it is. For my next layer, I'm using this almost terracotta colored grid washi tape. I didn't want the edge that was a thicker white border with little triangles. It didn't feel like it quite fit the vibe. So I cut that off, folded this wider washi tape over the edge, and then cut out those perfect corners. For the next layer, I'm going with tea-stained paper again, but this time I'm using a lighter sheet of tea-stained paper and once again folding it over the edge so it's on both sides. And then for the final layer here, using my craft paper miniature grid washi tape. This washi tape is so nice and wide. Again, folding it over the edge and then cutting out those corners. I wanted to make a little mini calendar that would be visible no matter what week I was on, so I grabbed this sort of distressed looking faded grid paper and created a really quick mini calendar, gluing that in the upper left hand corner. And then I'm using a slightly larger grid paper and cutting out a bunch of squares so I can make my calendar. I also cut out some rectangles to be the headers for each day of the week along the top. And then I just glued all those down, making sure that they were evenly spaced and straight on the spread. I of course also added the dates and then used my stamp set to add the headers for the days of the week. I wanted to still have my monthly work task list here on the left, so I made a tiny little header here at the bottom, and then just finished off this spread with a couple more additions, some washi tape, some stickers, as well as a tiny little header I made with this same grid craft paper. Chewy was very curious what I was getting up to, so he came to visit. And I can't deny he really adds to this spooky October aesthetic, being a black cat and all. Though he did almost give me a heart attack by flicking his tail so aggressively that he almost knocked over a candle with an open flame. I'm adding headers along the edge of these tabs or the layers, week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. And then I'm starting to work on the weeklies themselves, adding some basic rectangles for each day of the week and then a bonus section for priority weekly tasks. I also decided to add an extra line at the top of the rectangles just to make a little header section where I could write the day of the week and the date. I'd originally planned on making a similar header to the work header for my personal task list, but I decided instead to add one final tab. So I'm using 2 rows of this plain beige washi tape and then cutting along the edge and using my corner stamper to get those rounded corners. And then I'm just gluing it down to the page behind it because I don't actually want to be able to flip it over. I just want one more of these layers or tabs for my personal task list. And then it was just time for some more final details, a bit more of this terracotta grid washi tape, an image of a gas lamp on a dark, smoky street, some washi tape and some stamps on my weeklies just to add a little bit more of that layering and detail. And that brings us to the end of this setup. I'll flip through all the spreads. You can see them here. Like I said, very loosely dark academia inspired. I just wanted something warm and autumnal and layered and cozy with a little tiny element of something mildly spooky, which I feel comes from some of the bug stamps and the darker images and the bats. Just a little sprinkle of darkness in there. But that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed my October bullet journal setup. If you did, give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave the emoji that most represents October to you in the comments if you made it all the way to the end, so I know you're a real one. Don't forget to check out my Dark Academia reading vlog if you missed it, and consider joining my Patreon, especially the book club, if you want to read books with us every single month. I appreciate my patrons so much. And with that, I'm going to get going. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you really soon in my next one. Bye, friends.